teacups, what's brewing? How are you? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing quite fine. I've got some water today rather than coffee just because I finished a coffee and I'm like, I don't feel like another one, so we're going to stick with that. A little update before we begin on Chantal. I'm going to be looking at her, I think it was her Patreon stream. It's when she went out and had some Italian food. It's up on Justain's channel at the moment and various other clip shows if you're following them. So I've got some notes on that just to recap it for you guys. I had my interview this morning. I know a few of you were asking me about it and a lot of you wished me luck in the comments. Thank you so much. So it went quite well. Initially, the principal had said, you know, we're going to have this interview and it's really just a chance for us to get to know each other and chat and figure out if the school is going to be good for you and if you're going to be good for the school, you know, just more an exchange than an interview, as it were, to check that we're both feeling good about moving forward. Because I've had interviews before where I've said, like I had one a couple of weeks ago and we didn't end up moving forward because I had the interview and you get a sense of, nah, this isn't clicking. You know, like I don't think I'm right for this. And then you move on. So I'm glad we got the opportunity to do that. Initially, he had said that he would get back to me after the first interview, like when he was introducing what was going to happen today. He'd said, you know, after this, we'll finish the interview and then I'll get back to you and let you know if we're moving forward. But then at the end of the interview, we were saying goodbyes and it'd been a really nice chat. Like there was a good energy there. And not to get too airy-fairy on you, but you have good conversations and you can feel it's going well. And just as we were saying goodbye, he was like, oh, before you go, I've got one more question for you. And I was like, oh, yes. And he was like, would you like to talk to, and the name of the primary head. And I was like, yes, please, thank you. And so the primary head contacted me about half an hour after the interview finished, because obviously they were still in school. They're not on holiday right now. And I have a second interview set up for tomorrow. So that's exciting. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, but you know, the first interview went well, the school seems great, and fingers crossed. But thank you so much for your well wishes. Moving away from me to get into Chantal land. So as I say, we're going to be looking at, she went driving and then went and ate Italian food. The weird thing about right now is that there's no real titles for the streams. You know, I think, I can't remember what it was actually called under Just Saying, something an RSO, but it's that one anyway. So we're just going to discuss, I want to say briefly, but I wrote it onto cue cards because that's what I had available. I was running out of paper and it feels like a lot. But anyway, the attitude towards what's happening with YouTube, she did talk about it at quite reasonable length. She's still in the I just want to bees phase. She still says YouTube should have a warning system. Actually, YouTube does have a warning system. You can get struck, you can get lesser responses from YouTube, but if you have a severe infraction, which is what, you know, the takedown notice said she had, then yeah, they won't allow that. I went and looked in the information from Google over what that entails, and it says, you know, if you have one severe infraction of like predatory behavior, for example, and that kind of thing, then they don't give you chances for that. And whether you think she was predatory or not, because I know there's sort of a line as to where it goes, they would definitely err on the side of caution. And how she presented things on camera, whether she intended to or not, were definite cause for concern. So that's why it's happened, but she's still very much in the, I tried to be careful, I was pawned. Like someone else put a gun to her head and made her turn on Omegle and stream it live without anyone's permission. It's not what happened here. No one set you up, no one was waiting in the wings to connect with your chat, which was randomized. A basic consideration of what randomized chat can mean on a platform like that seems like it would be a good idea to consider, but she did not do that. So, and then actually made me laugh out loud. It's not like I say, I do what I want, go ahead and ban me. Forgive me. dear viewers, but has she not said exactly that on several occasions? I feel like we've had several occasions when she's been like, I don't care if I only have 5 people, I do what I want. You don't like it, ban me. I feel like we've had exactly that conversation a lot, but you know, whatever. Who am I? I'm not showing her content right now, but I'm sure if we were to search through, we would find something to that effect. People are trying to teach me a lesson to be accountable, but no, I need my channel back. I think both those things are true, but you can be accountable and also maybe regain your channel. Sentiment against you would probably be less harsh if you were more accountable. But as much as she says, I'm taking ownership of X, it doesn't really feel that way with some of the other things she discusses. I'm just checking. I've got a few things that I wrote kind of out of order because I was trying to group it together by topic, but now it's just a bit confusing. I'll have to improve my system. Seems Pete wasn't okay with uploading her stuff on his channel. It felt like she started to say something like, oh, he wouldn't, or oh, he didn't want, and then she kind of changed her wording a little bit, so we don't know exactly what she was going to say. But she was like, I don't want to mess with his channel, and he seems uncomfortable with it, and she did reference that again. So I think she tried to move forward with that, and he was like, absolutely not. And that's just where they are with that, which fair enough, because I think that would endanger her channel. She did make, I want to say, a good point in some ways, just to give her credit, where she's like, people can't deplatform me and still react. And I get what she's thinking when she says, you know, one, if you're going to go after her and say, nah, that's not okay, should you really be reacting to her? That's a question you can ask. But also, what she's not considering there is that reactors are frequently a lot more careful with her content than she is. So there's two sides to it. One, with the actual content they show. Yeah, they tend to cut things down. They tend to cut out the more inappropriate things. They tend to blur things out or cover them up, or, you know, when you bleep them, what's the word for that? Censor them, I suppose. My brain just went, we don't know words for that. There's a word for actually the audio, but censor, I suppose, would be a more umbrella term. So reactors are more careful with her content, for sure. And reactors don't have their channels banned at the moment. YouTube does have scope for reactions as a genre on YouTube. So something you do when you upload a video, you go through different processes in the back end. So you start to upload and it goes through the upload process and you put like all the details of your video, your title, all these all things in it. Then it goes on to checks and it does monetization, where you can place your ads or you can have YouTube do it automatically, which is quite the roulette. I would personally place my own ads if I were you, but there we go. And then it goes to like copyright checks. But one of those sections is for content, what's the word? Disclosure, I suppose, where you have to say, this is what's in my content. Now, recently, quite recently, within the last few months, YouTube updated that section. That section never used to be there. So now there's a lot of different content warnings, like hateful content, like swearing. And you have to go in, you have to say to, it defaults as there's nothing in there, but you have to go in, you have to say to what level you have these things. And sometimes, even when they're present, YouTube says that's safe for monetization. And depending on the severity of what's been declared, they might say, okay, well, that will mean limited ads, that will mean not eligible. And there's different limits because different ad providers, different companies will agree to a different level of content than each other, depending on what their brand is and what they're willing to have their name associated with. So one of the sections in the hateful derogatory content drop down is discussing people, groups or individuals, and I think it's in a not mean way. I can't remember the exact wording, but there is scope there to say basically, I'm discussing an individual, I'm discussing a group of individuals, but I'm not being a bitch about it mostly. And you can declare that. And they, not only do they allow it, they say it's safe for ads. They are happy to put advertisers next to it. And so I do that in every one of my videos. I go down and I do the drop down. So to say, you can't have reactions on YouTube, you definitely can. There's somewhat of a conversation with her content specifically now. Her channel's been taken down, but if you don't show the things that got her channel taken down, which was nudity, and sexual content, then there's no reason for you not to be able to use it from YouTube's perspective. I don't think. There is a conversation to be had there, and I understand why it sticks in a craw a little bit more, but I think it is something that's permissible. Okay, one interesting thing to note with that, can anyone who streams on the platform let me know? Because I know a lot of people do streaming now. When you live stream, do you go through that same process than when you make a video? Because when I make a video, I have to do that. I don't know if with live streams you bypass that, so maybe she's less aware. I'm not sure, because I want to know, when she says she 18 pluses her live streams most of the time, which I'm like, most is not all, but we'll move on. Does she have to still declare the content in that way? Because it becomes a video. So I would think she would have to, but maybe not. Maybe that's not something she's involved in, and maybe that's part of the problem. Because I have had videos run to limited ads before for swearing. Because you know me, I like to say the word fuck, and I tend to say it a lot. Now, again, one of the drop downs is inappropriate language. Well, inappropriate. And so if you say that in the first 3 minutes of your video, it's much more likely to get flagged than if you say it later on. So it will allow it to be safe for ads to a degree. If you use other language, like I've had videos demonetized before because she's used the C word in my reaction. And I can fight that, but it is what it is, When I've used the F word in my intro, I don't dispute it because I know what I did. Like it's just a thing that happens. So I would be interested with the content that was flagged as inappropriate. Obviously the Omegle and the potential minors and streaming without consent, that's a big one. But with the other stuff that she claims, oh, well, I didn't know, but when the stream finished, she knew. Did she declare it? Because things that would have been acceptable that I didn't declare have been flagged before. Because sometimes I go in and I press submit, and once you press submit, your rating can't be changed. And I maybe have, I've done one of the drop downs and then forgotten to go in and do the second. And so it's been flagged and I can't change it to be like, oh, sorry, I did mean to declare that, because they won't allow it. Anyway, just an interesting thought at the back end of YouTube. And I don't know how it impacts her in that way, or how it did impact her when she had videos up. Moving on, she's still threatening Charlie. She's still like, as soon as I get it back, she's going down. And I'm like I said, reactors tend to take care of their business a little bit better in terms of what we present online, because we know that she's going to lash out. We know that creators in general don't like to be discussed. Like, you have to be a little careful with what you're doing. She says she just needs YouTube to see their appeal, and that's it. I think it's going to be a much bigger case than that. There have recently been reports from people who were subscribed to her channel saying that they were refunded super chats and memberships, and that would indicate that YouTube, I think, to my mind, to my opinion, have maybe seen her appeal and are not as convinced. Because what's happening right now is her money's on hold. If her appeal was upheld and she got her channel back, she would get the money back that she has been, that's been held for her, because it's like, no, it's a mistake, have it back. She still wouldn't have earned in the last couple of weeks anything, not couple of weeks. How long has her channel been down? I say 2 weeks as a default. In the amount of time her channel has been terminated, I think it's actually only been about like 4 or 5 days. She's not earning any money on YouTube because she's not producing content on YouTube. But the money that was there is there and can remain there until they come to a final decision. Much more up in the air is the idea is if she's going to get paid. I did say when I first spoke about this that she wouldn't, because I didn't think, and I still believe that she won't. If the ban gets upheld, if the termination remains, I don't think she's going to get paid. Some people have said, yes, she will, whatever's being held will be forwarded and that will be the last payment. But there was something that a few reactors were saying on Twitter when they were like, the AdSense is still saying 0. I tried to check this in the Google community stuff because I really wasn't sure. And there was something in the community saying, the Google help YouTube stuff, saying if it hasn't been transferred to AdSense yet and you don't get upheld, it is gone. And what the other reactors were saying is that theirs was still at 0, nothing had been transferred. And if YouTube is refunding those super chats because they don't want to keep them because super chats are sent directly to the creator as support for the creator, it feels less and less likely that they're going to therefore send her the rest of her payment, because if they were going to overturn the termination, they would just keep the super chats where they were. I feel like it's a bad sign. I could be wrong, but I feel like it's a bad sign. In a monumental moment of lack of self-reflection, I suppose, connected to the money talk, she's driving to a restaurant and she says, since I'm not with a leech anymore, I have a lot more disposable income. And I'm sitting there like, you sure? You absolutely sure? Because I'm not sure, and I don't think you should be sure. She did say that she'd spoken to someone on YouTube who said, no, you'll get it. But we've seen her come back with doctor's reports. We've seen her come back and say things that don't sound right and then admit that she doesn't really listen when she doesn't want to hear the answer in many parts of her life. So we don't know if maybe they were saying if it gets overturned, she'll get the money. And I don't think she has thought through at all what will happen if she doesn't get paid this month. Because if that's all she wrote, like I thought it was in my first talk about this topic, then the payment she got on the 21st of February will be her last payment. And I don't think that's where she is mentally at all. I don't think she's considered that as an idea. Yes, the question of other platforms and where she's going to go post YouTube is becoming more prominent, because the idea that she might not get her channel back is becoming more prominent. But not having the money that she thinks she's going to get that was outstanding, I don't think she's touched that at all. I don't think she'd be capable of not understanding that idea, but engaging with that emotionally. Being able to say, oh, I'd be absolutely screwed if that were the case. So she's just choosing to put a pin in it and not deal with it, which I suppose as a defense mechanism, and just be like, there's no way for me to know, I'll have to wait and see. But her actions, the way she's still ordering food, she's still going out and doing things, I would be on a very strict spend nothing, because we don't know what's coming in until I knew. But I'm not Foodie. Foodie's not me. She makes her choices. It is her money. She talks about other platforms. She said that you can't stream on Twitch and on YouTube. And I was like, sorry, what? What are you talking about? Not only can you stream on Twitch and YouTube, you can stream simultaneously on Twitch and YouTube through, I think it's Streamlabs. So the idea that one means you can't be on the other makes absolutely no sense to me. And I don't know where she's got that idea from. Maybe whatever streaming program she's actually using, she can't see the option to do it together, and she's mistaking that as meaning you can't have a YouTube and a Twitch account at the same time. I don't understand. I don't understand why she would think that. Because one of the benefits is that you can put it on two platforms. It just was weird. She did say she wanted to be on Twitch because Twitch is a bigger platform, and that there is definitely an argument for that. And with it being publicly available, it is the closest YouTube equivalent for her, even if she does have to work on getting monetized there. She said she didn't think she would lose her YouTube channel, so she is just desperately trying out different things, trying to find something right now. But she was quite shocked. She said she hopes her income doesn't get affected too much, which of course it will. Of course it will, which is why she's going platform to platform to platform, asking people to sign up. And a lot of people can't, and we'll get into that in a second. But the fact she's like, oh, hopefully, no, not too much. I will have to get used to a smaller income, I think is the point she was making. But she still thinks, and she said at one point, she was like, I have to figure out how many pieces I've got to figure out what I need to charge. Like, she's got a set amount she wants to make, and if that means raising the price on all her visas, she doesn't really care. She thinks people will just do that. And a couple of people, well, I suppose, a couple of people, as she says, have the money and will follow her anywhere. Yeah, and they get to do that. They get to do that if they want to. I wouldn't expect other content or exclusive content on different platforms. You'll get just more of the same, but if she can maintain them even, but they can spend their money how they want. But I think rather than say, so I'll charge X amount, what she needs to do is focus on what she's giving people and on growing those platforms. Because it's not fair to say, okay, well, I want to earn this amount this month, so I'm going to charge twice as much because I have this many people. It doesn't seem realistic. She's going to try, but it doesn't seem realistic. There's very much a vibe of what will be, what happens to me. So speaking of the personal responsibility that she claims to be taking, nah, it's not happening to you. Your actions are causing things to happen, you know? More on the money, the chatters are like, we can't afford 3 platforms, which is when she said, you know, yeah, some people can and please do, but others she realizes can't. She said she was going to put content on all her platforms, which I find very unlikely, but that does not explain. God, my brain today, you guys, I'm just not putting words together very well. I apologize, excuse me. It's been a bit of a long day. But it is why she's more interested in maintaining Twitch, because it is freely available as well as allowing for them donating money. She spends the dinner portion basically talking about Nada. There's no new information there. I won't go into it. She says she has 30 minutes left on her chat. I didn't realize that Patreon charges you for X amount of time, which could get really expensive if her need for attention outweighs her understanding of her budget, which frequently it does. So I think she's going to waste a lot of money trying to live stream instead of putting out videos at this point. But again, we'll see what happens. And she makes a point of, what she says during her drive there is, people say, I don't deserve happiness. I don't deserve to make a living the way I want to. I think those are 2 separate issues. I'm not saying she doesn't deserve happiness ever in her life, and I'm not saying she doesn't deserve to make a living. But there's a big difference between I should be able to work and support myself and make a living the way I want to. The way I want to is an absolutely huge caveat. And actually, you are making it the way you wanted to. You were in a golden age, my dear. But there are limits to what you can do online in a service that's paying you through the support of ads. That's not unreasonable. And she has been towing those limits, she has been bypassing those limits, and now she went too far. And that is just what happens. I think she should be able to go out and earn a living. Do I think she should be able to earn a living doing that? No, I don't. I think there are limits, and I'm glad they were enforced. She then just goes on to a little bit of personal information. Her birthday's obviously coming up. She was considering going ghost hunting or potentially making porn on OnlyFans with a New Mexican guy. Either or, you guys. Doesn't matter which way it goes, but could be fun either way. So there we go. She said she was going to talk about the new guy because she just never ever learned. Like, why would you give us any information? Knowing how the rest of this went down, why would you give any information ever? She didn't dox him yet. She didn't reveal anything personal that we could really follow. Not that I would, but people could really follow, except that he is a chef. And then she was like, I know how that sounds. And that he's Mexican. But I think she's incapable of keeping information quiet, and other platforms are a lot more ready to respond on things like doxing and stuff like that, even if it's accidental, because she's not learning any lessons here. Oh, I'm sorry, but it was an accident. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it was an accident. It matters that you did it, you know? And she's going to be really, really careful, and it's going to be boring. in her words. So way to sell your new channel, yeah? But for now, in her real life, she just wants to have fun with new guys, which I get that she doesn't really know how to live by herself in any sense. She doesn't know how to be an individual person without being in a relationship. So I get it in a way, but I personally would not be making these choices. I would not be looking for a new partner. I think one thing we learned from Nada is she is completely unprepared to be in a non-committed relationship, and she is not well suited in her current state of mind with her current level of emotional understanding and maturity to really be in a committed one. So I think there's a lot of work on herself that she needs to do before she's really ready for that, but that's just my personal opinion. And then the only other thing that she really mentioned was her aunt visited for a little bit, apparently, which, where would she have stayed in the villa? We've seen the villa getting a little bit messier. Chantal and Pete are still there. Last time, apparently she slept on the couch, and we did see those blankets and stuff on the couch, but it was a mess. I can't imagine it's better there now. She's admitted it's been losing it. And Bibi also tried to call her during the stream, and she was like, she was going to call him back, and then she said something to the effect of, I don't really want to talk to him. He's a little bit too much reality for her when he's like, what are you going to do? Because she is trying to avoid the question in its most serious nature. She's very much, la la la, what will be, will be. Maybe I'm not meant to be on YouTube. Maybe I'm meant to be on Twitch. And she mentioned she was going to stream some games later. She wasn't sure which one. I'm not sure she's set up for streaming on Twitch right now. I'm pretty sure you need like a capture card if you're going to stream a game to be able to do it successfully, but I could be wrong. I guess we'll find out if she does actually end up streaming anything. I don't know about Twitch. I'd like to try Twitch at some point. I just play very chill games. Like, I want to do a replay of Stardew Valley before he releases, if he releases at any point in the next couple of years. The Haunted Chocolatier game is doing. So I've been considering, I think when I get to the new place, I need to upgrade my computer. I might go for desktop, and then I might end up just streaming a couple of things on online maybe. But anyway, that's just a thought I've got bubbling in my head. So when she says, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm interested in the sense of, oh, really? Have you got the setup? What have you got going? I steal the ideas. But yeah, that thing where I can't be on Twitch and YouTube. I'm like, doesn't Zachary and Michael have a Twitch channel? Unless she's just confusing that it's simultaneously streaming, which I think you need a special like subscription or special program to do, which maybe she doesn't have. Anyway, excuse me if that was a bit rambly, but that basically covers the day, the stream. So officially she still doesn't have word. I was a little bit suspicious the other day on Twitter, and she was like, no stream today, guys, I'm not feeling good, or I'm not feeling up to it. And people were eviscerating her on Twitter, just being like, you do not have the swing or the money to be flaking out on live streams right now, madam. Like, you should be doing everything you can to bust your ass to give content to keep people with you, which is absolutely true. I genuinely forgot what I was talking about and had to go check my footage. But anyway, I was suspicious when she said that perhaps she had heard something from YouTube and that it was a no, and she was just hiding it so that later she could be like, la la la, no, actually I think Twitch is going to be better for me. But I think that's giving her a little bit too much credit in terms of being able to control her emotions. So I think we will hear about it immediately either way. But for a moment, I felt it was a bit sus. Anyway, I will let you go. Thank you for listening to me talk, and I guess we'll see where this goes. I'm waiting for that decision, and I'm sure you are too. Bye, everybody.